Hello and welcome to another edition of your favourite podcast, Insane in the Membrane.
Insane in the Membrane.
Hello everybody, greetings. Hope you're good, hope you're well. You know what? It's been a funny old week. I got married. That's what happened to me. Kate McGann and I tied the knot on Monday, and now I'm just now you find me, Rich Wilson, a married man, and what a time we had. It was fantastic. So thanks everyone for coming down. We had a good time. Yeah, just you know what, right? When it feels right, it's right, isn't it? You know, like it just felt right, and we did the right thing, and so that's where we're at. That's what this week's been all about. So I mean, so we've had that conversation. Like some people saying, like, is marriage still relevant nowadays? And it's like, well, yeah, we just wanted to just go. I give myself to you, and that's what we're going to do. And it feels good. So that's what we're at. So my brain over the last few months has been just full with that, really, trying to get that off the ground, getting that going. I will say, Kate absolutely smashed it, because she does events, so she organises events, and has done when she worked for Comic-Con and things like that. So when it came to planning the wedding, she just knocked it out of the park. I mean, I was just kind of like, fine, happy with that. Not being a typical bloke, I did my bit trying to help out, but Kate smashed it. Well done. So that's where we're at. I hope you lot are all right. I hope you're well. I hope you're in relationships and it's going well. So it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because with all the love in the world, it still takes work. I know what people mean now by, you have to work at it, and I don't, because it's easy to let the negativity in, and but if you talk to each other, which is what Kate and I do a lot, you can figure things out, because it's so easy to just kind of go quiet and then not or just assume stuff. That's the killer. And that was what Kate and I were talking about, is that we just assume that the other one's pissed off with us. It's not until you break it down and go, no, I've just got other stuff on my mind, and that's what was going on. That's why I was a bit weird. So communication is key, and that's what I found out. I mean, it's only taken me 50 years, but and many troubled times. But yeah, communication. Honestly, you'll feel so much better for it. Even if it's like, have I pissed you off? Have I done something? Like, just whatever it is, try and talk to each other. Because if you love each other, it's worth working on. And I say that from someone who has fucked up so many times in the past, and I take full responsibility. But now I'm in a position I'm in a good position, good place. I'm really going to work on it and work on myself, and going forward, it's going to be all right. We're going to be fine. So yes, that's what's been happening with me. So let's get on with the podcast, shall we? Now I'm gibbering on about that. This week's guest is Mr. Steve Best. Steve Best I've worked with. I can't remember the first time I worked with him. We've just known each other. I've known him, I think, most of my comedy career, and he's got a book coming out about because he does photography, and he's done some of my press shots over the years that you might have seen. And he's got a book out with all his photography from like behind the scenes and things like that, and it's an actual work of art. I've seen some of the shots already. It's phenomenal. He really has a good eye. I mean, we talk about that in the episode, but it's well worth your time having a look at that. I know there's so many books out on comedy and comedians and things like that, but this is really, really special. It's a really nice piece, and he's worked really hard on it over the last few years. It's really good to get him on, and we had a really good chat about mental health and the things that he's had to deal with in his life. Really got stuck in. It was a real, like I say, I know Steve from the circuit, having gigged with him a few times, but I didn't really know him. So it was nice to get to know him, which is what you'll find out in the episode. So without further ado, coming up in a minute is Steve Best.
A podcast from producerpaul.co.uk.
Insane in the Membrane.
This is the most professional podcast I've ever done. Not that I've done many.
Oh, it's all thanks to producer Paul. If this was just me, it'd be me and you talking on laptops.
Well, that's what I was expecting, you see, but then suddenly this happened, and I've got to press buttons and things like that. It's quite good. I like that.
You see, people, they think I'm still a van driver from Kent. I've got my shit together when it comes to this, anyway.
Yeah.
How are you, Steve? Are you well?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah. So when's the book coming out?
Well, the book is coming out. Official launch is on the 3rd of November. Which you're cordially invited to. It's in London, but I hopefully will get my delivery of books in the next 2 weeks, and then I can get my pre-orders out, and then the bookshops will stock them as well. So that's good. Yeah,
it must be stressful because a load of us go, I'm going to put a book out, and but yours has taken years, like the photographs that you've been building up over all that time.
Yeah.
And now it's come to a point. It's like, right, it's still like the pressure must be intense.
It is a bit full on, especially there was a big intense bit in, because I was trying to get it out in July ultimately, and then the publishing world is another, it's huge, and I just don't quite understand it. But I understand it more now. Yeah. But there was a stress in August when I was meant to be going away, and we didn't get these proofs to the Italian printers, and they are so good, the printers, that they want everything, and I'm just going, let us have it, whatever. And I don't quite understand the technical, but it's so technical so that delayed it. So the stress of getting the book, it's been a long process, and it's different to the other ones I've done because I've been really hands-on this one.
Have you really?
Completely. Yeah.
Because I've known you through comedy, so
comedy.
So suddenly, I remember when you popped up and you were taking photos. I had no idea where it was going to lead. You kind of go, that's going to be cool, and now it's become this big thing, and you're so talented. I'm not just saying that. You really do capture a moment in time, which sounds so stupid to say out loud, but do you know what I mean? Like, I've seen some of the photos I've seen. You've got a real eye.
Well, this is a really lovely thing, is that I started it out as just snapping backstage and getting, and it was quite a nice project because it was getting the comedians backstage. Wasn't trying to do anything fancy with them. They were just snapshots. But the added bit was really lovely, was I was working with these people, and so they were very open, and then they asked for a joke and 4 or 5 facts. So you get this kind of the whole circuit in this little tiny chunky book, and then I did another one. Yeah. And I think that's lovely. But it's moved on, I think, and I think the creative side of it is you get confident as a stand-up, I think, or critically confident as people say, it's great, or they love you, or the audience tell you straight away. But in the art world, it's been very different for me, because I don't know whether I'm any good at taking a picture, but slowly you think, actually, I've got something that, is it come from the comedy world or from the art world? I don't know where it's from. So that's nice of you to say, but you still feel quite insecure until people in the art world says, and it's the first guy at a photography studio, a gallery, said, you've got something really special here. And it was the first time in the art world that someone said that, which is quite interesting. And that kind of thing, okay, fine.
But that's what we're always after. We always want affirmation from our peers, and I suppose, like you say, with comedy, I see when there are people that you admire and look up to, and they give you a compliment, or someone says, so-and-so was talking about you the other day, said you're great, and you're like, that's nice, and that's what everybody wants in wherever your chosen field is. And so for you to get into that world, the art world, and for them to accept you and go, this is art. This is something, mate.
I think so, and I think that kind of, it's bad in a way, because we shouldn't need that. You should just go with your art and just have fun. But we're all very insecure beings, and I think that from another comedian, someone who you respect, as you say, says something lovely about you. That's great. That's better than a critic.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's better than even better than an audience reaction sometimes, because you think, I'm doing something right here. But and that's the same in the art world, I think, really, is that you just got to keep banging it out and trying to do the best you can. This sounds crass, doesn't it? But that's what it is, isn't it?
Not at all. Well, this is it, especially when you obviously love it, which is it's a privilege to be able to do something that you love. Do you know what I mean? And then because there's so many people. I know I've had jobs before that I absolutely despised, and I just didn't want to do it, and I always knew there was something else. I'm not saying that those jobs are shite. It's just that I didn't want to do them, because I knew I wanted to do something else. I wanted to dick around, and that's what I do for a living now.
Yeah, I mean,
You know.
I think it's very hard to get into a position or into a job position that you really love, and
Definitely.
and I think, but also I think the creative world is you can be a stand-up, and I always thought I'm a stand-up. That's what I do, but there's no reason why you can't be creative in another creative side of the art world and still love it. And I mean, I've got much more. I've become much more kind of creative, I think, doing photography than I ever was with the comedy. And I had a really strong 20-30 minute set that you kind of changed, tinkered with a little bit. But photography now is I'm changing all the time and looking at different ways of being creative with it.
Yeah.
Which is bad in a way, because I think I was really good. I am quite good as a stand-up. And you think, if I put the amount of work and effort into that, my wife will kill me for that. Yeah. So.
But I think when you and I sort of started, I mean, you started a bit before me, but not about a couple of years. But I think the circuit was very different back then. Like, you had the big clubs playing. You had to have a strong 20-30 minute set that you couldn't fuck about with, because otherwise they wouldn't book you. Whereas things seem a bit more free now. People a bit more open-minded. But back then it was kind of like, you needed to earn money. This was your living. And so if you turned up at, say, I don't know, Jongleurs, and went, right, I'm going to do 20 minutes of experimental, whatever it was, sword swallowing, they'd go, all right, fine, we can't use you anymore.
But what's interesting about that, and I think but that sets you into a full sense of security, because you do a really strong 20-minute Jongleur set, or 19, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then you think, I can't change this, and you get into that mindset, and you've got bang, 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 bang out. But the people who were really developing they gave a shit, because they had a different journey. They knew this was a stepping stone. Me was thinking, this is my, I can't fuck up here, because otherwise I won't get my mortgage, that kind of thing. But the whole circuit's changed in the sense of that was good money then.
Yeah.
And you can't do that now. There aren't those kind of paying gigs, so people don't treat it. I don't think people who come into comedy have never had that the comedy where you can make a good living out of it just on the circuit. So
yeah. Oh, absolutely. There's so many comedians that I know now that have day jobs, and I remember years ago someone saying, "Oh, don't mention that you've got another job," because it just looks shit. But now it's like, well, no, it just I want to do this, but at the same time, as you just said, I need to pay my rent, my mortgage.
Yeah.
And I can't do that on comedy alone. I need to find other avenues, and I think that's something that's happening now. Like, I do this. There's other things that we're working on, and you do your photography. I think we are able to look at other avenues, which again, it's very lucky that we have that. And I think it's great for your mental health.
Oh no, totally. I think so. I think monetizing it is the tough one, isn't it? Because that's good for your mental health to be able to survive, I suppose. And so it's much harder, coming into the comedy world now. I mean, there's a lot more people coming into it to make a living and be mentally kind of stable in that sense, I suppose. But it's a funny one, isn't it? Because when we were starting, it was an outcast. You felt you couldn't do anything else, so you had a lot of I mean, I don't use crazy people, but it was just there were some mad people on the circuit, and
unusual folks that you wouldn't normally see anywhere else.
It was true, and I like that about it, because you think none of these people could get another job anywhere else, really, or they maybe could, but it made it a really eclectic and fantastic circuit to be on. But now it's a bit more. How do I make it big? And get the social media streams and all that. Yes, it's a different thing. I think a different beast. Yeah,
absolutely. I see younger comics. I was with somebody last night, and we were just doing. It was a gig in a golf club, and it was a lovely little gig. Everyone in there, they were raising money for this guy. And because he's running the marathon, and you have to. I didn't realise. I was told this. You have to raise $2,000. You have to guarantee $2,000 in order to run the marathon, the London Marathon. Yeah, and I was like, what? So they were raising money for that. All a great thing. And I said to the audience, I said, give me a cheer, have you been to comedy before? None of them had been to comedy before. And we were like, oh, this is going to be interesting. But the young lad in the middle, he still filmed his set. And he's still like, and he said, yeah, I film everything I do. It's all for social media, it's all for and I'm like, wow, man, it really has changed. Whereas we just used to just dick around for 20 minutes.
Well, I still do a little bit.
Yeah,
and that's the problem. It's kind of is that I agree. I think there were a few people when I was on there who took it very seriously, and I mean, I was taking it seriously in the sense that was my job, but people were thinking long term about how to, but they're much more now. I think you're right. People got cameras filming it, and it's good. Little clips, and I'm getting to grips with things like TikTok, and I should do, but I just
you'd be perfect for TikTok. Your stuff would be perfect for that.
With the photography, maybe. Yeah.
But I think I think we have to stop. We're older fellas, and I think we have to stop going, oh, that's for the kids. It's like, well, it's not. If you. No. We're not silly. We know if we really look into it and fight the fear, we can get involved in all manner of stuff still. Still. So I think it's us. It's like when you see. I was with my parents yesterday, and when I talked to them, they're like, I'm a technophobe, and they're like, well, you don't have to be. Yeah. They come with instructions.
Yeah, absolutely. We're lazy fuckers, aren't we? Really,
lazy fuckers.
You just think, well, I could do that. You could look into it. I mean, it would take us our brains a little bit more to, because the kids have been brought up on that kind of technology.
Yes.
But there's no reason why we can't, learn that. Not at all.
No. So I see people that. I mean, I'm 50, and I see people that I've grown up with, and it's almost like they want to be old folks, like shuffling around. I'm like, no, get out there and do stuff. They're like, I don't know, not anymore. Can't do that anymore. And you're like, well, I'm not asking you to, run around and go clubbing, and just go out and explore, have a look around.
But I think that's what I like about what you're doing. Hopefully, what I'm doing is that I think there are people just because you do. That's what I'm saying about the art of stand-up. It doesn't mean you can. That's all you can do. It means you are creative and you can apply your creativeness to something else within that kind of realm. And I think there's quite a few, as you say, quite a few people. You have to do it, and it's fun. I think I'm really enjoying the process at the moment.
Yeah. I think it's fear that holds us back, though, isn't it? It's that the fear of failure, the fear of looking stupid, the fear of it. It's very. I remember when I started in comedy. Yeah, I was terrified when I started in stand-up. Yeah. And so to now be going, all right, I'm going to explore something else. Even doing this, I'm like, do people still like it? Is it worth doing? And then someone dropped me a message going, mate, by the way, my marriage was breaking down, but we listened to this episode and it really helped us out, and now we're doing it. And you're like, oh shit, yeah, no,
now I've taken up photography.
Yeah.
Okay. But that's the problem with being very sensitive. Most of us are quite sensitive, and so the idea of when you go up to Edinburgh, you should never read the reviews, not read the good reviews or the bad reviews. And it's the kind of the same with anything else that you do. Is as long as you've got a path and you think, that you've got a creative kind of critique and think, that's a bit shit. That I'm not going to put that out, or that do you know what I mean? So we shouldn't be relying on. I mean, we do. That's the problem, and that jeers us up kind of mentally. They think, someone's really listening to this. Even there's one person. That's the kind of joke, isn't it? If one person thinks you're funny, then you're really shit, aren't you? As a comic, kind of, if just one person finds you funny, then you're pretty shit. But we do need that. I think we do need that affirmation, don't we?
Absolutely. And how do you feel about now that the talk about mental health? Because like you and I are a similar age. It wasn't really a thing when we were growing up, or it wasn't for me anyway. How do you feel about it now? Do you feel better about it? Have you ever had problems with your mental health?
Yeah, massively. Yeah. I mean, it's. I haven't really kind of talked about it to that openly, but there's been two big things. I had a really bad time when I was about 20. My mum was really, really ill, and subsequently died when she was 49. Sorry. So she was very, very young. But leading up to, she was ill for kind of 8-9 years, but the last 2 years were pretty horrendous, and there was a lot of guilt going on because I was at that stage I was studying the guitar. I was playing the guitar 7-8 hours a day, and then I was going to the hospital every day, more or less, and I was getting very not anxious then, but I was getting very symptomatic. Like I came out with spots and stuff that I usually get when you're a teenager, so very, very stressed. And then when she died, I was on stage in Hull, I think it was, and a children's show in a theatre. My mouth was just full of ulcers. It's so painful, just because of all the stress and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And when she died, my brothers were at home, and during her illness, my brothers were at university, they were away, and I was at home. So I was there all the time through the bad bit of the illness. And when she died, I wasn't there. So that, and so when she died, I thought all the pressure would be over, but that was the start of something really, really bad. So I had 2 years of huge panic attacks. I mean, massive panic attacks. I couldn't go out of the house. Yeah, I mean, it's really, really bad. Or I'd go out of the house, it'd be in my car, my heart would be going, and I would have to drive home again. So I would, it was really bad for a while. But I was seeing doctors, and I started seeing a psychotherapist at the time, which didn't work. Some worked, and I went into the eastern side. Sorry if it's a long thing, that took a long time to get out, and I don't think I've ever really come out of it, really, because throughout then I've always had some kind of anxiety sometime, and I've kind of learned how to cope with it. So I haven't had big panic attacks for a long time.
No.
But they do kind of rear up, and I think this is happening again if there's a big bit of stress.
Yeah. But and where does that come from? Is that just because you weren't there at the end? You felt guilt, or so it wasn't your fault by the sound of it?
No. But I think there was quite a lot of guilt involved, because I was trying to do to be me and do something, and then I was also wanting to look after. You'd be there for my mum as well. But I don't know where that. I think there's a lot of massive amount of stress that builds up in your body, and you can cope with it. Your body can cope with it, but there is a point where everything just shuts down, I think, and that's when the panic attacks come on. Because after she had died, 6 months or so after, I thought I was feeling okay, and then suddenly I had these and that's what you do. I was in the Philippines with a friend of mine, and we smoked some very, got to be careful what I say here, but we were on this island, and that's when it started. I was away from home, and I had some really strong stuff, and I thought I was gonna. I mean, it's the worst one I've ever. I thought I was gonna die. I was in my thing, just think this is it. I'm dying, and I didn't know what it was then. So when I came back I remember going to when I was in the Philippines, we got to Manila, and I went to the doctors there, and they trying to put all these things on my chest to do heart stuff. But I've got quite a hairy chest, and they don't have that hairy chest in the Philippines. So they go, what the hell? So they had to shave me all off and put these stuff on me. And they kind of knew there. They said I had what's it word? No, it wasn't a panic attack. It was I can't think what the term was. I'll think of it in a minute. But when I came back, then I started trying to get help. But I found it really hard then, and that's when I had all the panic attacks.
Yeah. I think people, I know people underestimate stress and what it does to you and what it can create in your body. All the, this is why relaxation and trying to meditate and things like that are so important. And I literally last night on the way back from the gig with my partner Kate, and we were talking. She just said, "You just keep expecting everything to turn out shit and everything to be bad." Because that was it. We were driving back, and then there was roadworks, and I said, "You know what? Coming back to Brighton, it's always a pain in the arse. Even if you're driving, the roads are shut. If you're on the train just stops at Haywards Heath and goes, yeah, we're not going to Brighton now." And you end up, I was tired and I was pissed off. And she just said, you expect everything to be shit. So if you keep thinking that way, things are going to be shit.
Are you a half empty, half full person? Is that what it is? Because I
think it depends how much sleep I've had.
Yeah, I mean, always, as I've known you a long time, I always think you as a really jolly guy.
I think I am.
And people think that of me, and I think I am. I think that, underlying. I mean, my first question, when I went to see a friend who was a psychiatrist years and years ago when I was having these attacks, I think their first question is, are you suicidal? Because they have to ask that just to make sure that they, that they've really got to kind of step in. And, I've never had those kind of thoughts.
Right.
So I think that you can be very anxious and depressed and down or whatever, but not suicidal.
Definitely, yeah. I think I've had the thoughts, but now I understand why. We've spoken about this on previous episodes, where that thought of ending things. You're not really wanting to end your life. What you want is you want the shit to stop. Whatever's happening, whatever you're stressing about, get to a point. You go, if I just do that, then that will stop, because your brain can't comprehend that you won't come back from it. It just goes, just do that, and then we'll reboot, and then we'll carry on, because that'll be gone then. You're like, have you realised? Yeah, you'll be gone as well. So I think that's understanding that is,
totally. But I think there's there's obviously nuances of things in between, but I think I'm the complete opposite, where I want the shit to stop, but I don't want to die.
No.
So I want to try and do everything now that to stop that pain or whatever it is to stop, but not by stopping me.
No.
So I think that side of it's more hypochondriac. What the hell's wrong with me? And I think I got that way after my mum was ill, because every time I got an ache or a pain, I thought it was cancer, because you just know what she went through, and so you get a very kind of wary and anxious about your own health, I think.
Oh, absolutely. I can understand that completely, and that must take something to get your head around that, to get yourself to a place where you go, stop it. That's not cancer. It's just age, or it's just whatever else it is.
I think it's really hard once you maybe you've gone through that. It's very hard to, even now I go through bits like that. Every so often I go through months where I have those kind of things. I'm fine. I try and keep a bit fit and eat well and all this stuff. But if something happens, I feel something. Oh shit! I go for the big one. But we did have another scare. I think it was 8 years ago now, where and that's where it never really stops. Because that's life, isn't it? Cancer is part of life in one sense. But I was playing poker with the comedy boys. I play with Mark Billingham and Mike Garn and Mark Mayer. So we play a weekly game. And my daughter, I think she was 8 at the time. She just complained of a kind of a bruise on her arm. And I was playing poker. I was out playing poker, and my wife's very good. If she feels something's wrong, she'll go straight to A&E.
Yeah.
And I know it's a bit naughty on the health system, but it does work. But so I just got a phone call saying, come straight away. So they basically had found a hole in her bone and kind of diagnosed it as bone cancer.
Oh my God!
Literally in half an hour I was there, and they were just talking to us about the chemotherapy and the stuff that she's going to go through and all this stuff. So for a month we were with the idea that she had that.
Oh,
and that was the most. I mean, that was mostly worse than with my mum.
Yeah.
Kind of feel bad now.
No.
I had a month of just wandering the streets, just in a kind of absolute daze. I mean, so, but then they went to Stanmore and they did a biopsy, and we had to wait 2 weeks for the answer. But we were on the presumption that's what it was. And it turned out it was this kind of called this GCT, a giant cell tumour, which actually is benign.
Wow.
But we had a month of thinking, and they didn't really kind of keep us informed along the way. We were just wandering around thinking, shit, how are we going to tell the family and say, this is what's going to happen. But she had to have an operation, and it kind of filled in over time. But that was horrendous as well.
Well, mate, it's a funny one, isn't it? You don't want any loved ones to be ill anywhere, but with parents, not necessarily as young as with your mum, but you kind of assume like parents will go before you do, and the worst thing for a parent is to lose a child. I know that through my ex-partner, knowing what they went through, and I don't think you ever recover. You never, especially if you don't recover anyway. But from losing a child, because it's just incomprehensible.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine. I mean, I'm being a dad myself. Just the thought of my lads, anything happening to my lads, is just, I can feel my heart now going, oof.
But that's the thing, is that throughout life you're going to. I mean, we've got good friends who are constantly worrying about their kids. I mean, their kids are 27, whatever now, and they're constantly worrying, and you just think that's not going to stop, is it? It's kind of,
no, it never stops.
But I suppose again that's part of the whole thing, isn't it? That's it. But and
so
I agree. I think
right.
she's fine. But that your mum, but that's the problem I had. I think my mum was very, very young and I was very young. It's okay when you're 60, 70 and your dad's 85, 90 or something like that. That, as you say, it's a circle. I don't know what going into my act, but it's a toughie.
Mate, I can't imagine what you must have gone through. Having gone through that with your mum, and then finding out that with your daughter, and you just, Jesus. And then, but every time I see you, like you were talking about me being, you're always jolly and upbeat and just hey, and your act is completely, it's just pure, raw, unadulterated comedy. It's just ridiculous comedy. So, do you think you used? I mean, there's that cliche. Did you think you used it as a mask or a way of protecting yourself, or?
Well, I was I was into that stuff before those life kind of events, but I was massively, I don't know where, I was massive into magic when I was 12, 13. My friend gave me a box of magic tricks and I just got really into magic, and I just think performing, and as kids growing up, we didn't have a television for a long time, so we listened to records. So I'm Sorry, I'll Read It Again and the Goons. My parents were really into all that, the older stuff, and really funny kind of offbeat stuff, Monty Python, and then I just got hooked on listening to it and watching it. But I got into kids work for a while, into theatre work and kids parties. But I remember when my mum was very, very ill, or when she died, actually, I still had kids parties to do, and I remember standing in the corner trying to entertain these kids, and I was going behind my box of props and crying. I just think, what am I doing? And that's when I kind of I took some time out after that. I just couldn't handle it. What am I doing? But and again, when my daughter, I thought was ill, I cancelled loads of gigs. I just thought, I can't. What am I doing? I can't do this. And I think people were very supportive at the time. And then she was kind of okay, and she went through the kind of operational, so it was fine. I came back into it, but it puts things into perspective a little bit. But that's what you do, isn't it?
But like you say, I mean, how old are your children?
16 and 14. Yeah, daughter's 16. Yes,
and like mine are 25 and 30. You just forever their dad. I know when I was growing up, there was a thing of, right, you're 18, you're on your own, you're out there now, and you're just like, what? But no, I still need some help. And that's the same with like I say, with my lads. I'm aware that my youngest is at uni, so he's still. It's difficult to say to him, can you be more careful with your money when I'm just as bad. But you never stop. You never stop. You still. I would die for my kids. And they're grown-ups. It never stops. Never stops. Yeah. Well,
it's a great. We've got. I mean, some people don't have that bond, and we've got a great relationship. And it's you also get the huge, lovely moments. It's great. Yeah. So I wouldn't give it up, obviously, but yeah. But yeah, I think I as I say, I think you, like yourself, I think we're naturally quite jolly people and quite positive stuff, but there's also a lot of stress underneath it, isn't it? It's the nature of the beast. But
well, I think it's because when I'm around other people, I don't want to burden them with what's going on, or I don't want them to feel shit. So when I'm around other people, I just naturally just go, hey, how you doing? Good to see ya. And if they say, how are you doing? I'm like, yeah, fine. No, it's a bit shit, but I'm all right. How are you? And I try and do, and I had a counsellor, and she said, you just keep deflecting everything back on other people.
But don't we all? I mean, there are very few people who don't do that. I mean, and in that kind of social kind of confines, you do that. If someone says to you, how are you? And you said, and then you go into it in big detail, that's not what they kind of want to hear, and also it's not the social kind of place to do it, I suppose. But if you sat down with them after the gig and had a drink and talked about it, I mean, that'd be fine, I suppose. But do you do that as well? Do you ever do that?
That's happened a few times. It's always when you're yeah, when you first see each other, like, hey. And there was a couple of times where I'd gone, actually, no, I'm not. And they're like, and then you really go, no, now's not the time. It's before the gig. It's just, oh shit. Or I'm telling them something and I'm like, yeah, no, you need to stop talking now, Richie. This is,
this is it on stage as a compound.
Yeah.
Really now, welcome on stage. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
But afterwards, yeah, definitely.
I mean, there was. I think that's what the beauty of the circuit years ago was. That we used to go away for a weekend to Birmingham or Leeds, for Jongleurs or Glee or whatever, and you'd have time with comedians and just have a really nice. Go to the cinema, go for breakfast, have a chat, and they were lovely times. And I think you could actually be a bit more open that way, couldn't you? I think it's much harder now on the circuit because you bump into people every couple of years, maybe now. I don't know, once a year. So. But then your friendships are outside as well, I suppose.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, I think that's why it's important that things like, because people were saying to me like, "What you been up to?" And I go, "Oh, I was kicking around the other day." I went, "Oh, you should have given me a shout. We could have gone for coffee." And I'm always of the assumption that people are busy, and it doesn't occur to me to go, "Do you fancy a coffee?" And I think we need to be more aware of that, because just that little interaction for an hour or 2 hours or however long it is so important.
But do you think that stopped because of the social media world, where you think you've got friends, and in actual fact you don't see them, you just see them virtually, and that is I agree with you. I think it's a massive problem. That's why my poker kind of we never kind of talk really because we're too intent on playing, but we do talk because we're physically there, and I think there is something going, and I think that's really important, and that's why over the lockdown must have been really hard for people's mental health, because and even before that, because people were going into that social world, weren't they? Not really the virtual world, and not seeing each other. And I think that's important. Getting a coffee and slowing down a bit,
Yeah,
and that's why, in a way, the other side of it, COVID was good because people did slow down, didn't they? They had to.
Yeah.
But then they couldn't see each other. But,
No, I think, because I know everyone was saying that, like they were going, "Oh, my dreams are insane. Like I'm having to," and you go, "Yeah, because we're all locked in. You're not. There isn't anything else to really focus on. It's like your brain is kind of just, it's got, all right, I can have a chance to just get through some of this." Because that's all it's doing, really. When you say, "Oh, I've dreamt about this person, I've thought about them in 30 years. You're like, yeah, that's just your brain going, right, what am I going to do with this memory? Do I put it over here? Do I put it over there? And it's just going through all your stuff. And I think that's why our dreams were more intense, because we didn't have all the other stuff to worry about.
Yeah.
And I think things like, like you say, you go and play poker, but you're not necessarily chatting. But just the physical act of going somewhere and doing something that means you're not thinking about illness, or you're not thinking about the day-to-day stuff, you're doing something else, I think it's so important.
No, totally. And that is the worry about the kids' generation is, they're constantly on we must have this all the time on their device, and we try and do this kind of thing where you're not on it all the time. They draw, you go, goes play basketball, and they got other activities that we used to do. You could just by nature go out on your bike, and it's tough. I think it's very tough parenting. That you've got to be involved. I think
Yes.
but they're too involved. I think they're very clever, obviously.
But I think kids are figuring it out for themselves. I know my lads have kind of gone, I'm on, they're on whatever social media they're on, but they're not asked about it. They're kind of aware that they need to be off out doing stuff. So my youngest is a drummer, so he's in bands and he's off doing that. He goes to open mic nights and stuff. So the young people are figuring out that we don't. I think sometimes we don't give them enough credit. They're figuring out, going, this isn't good to be on this all the time. We need to do something else. Best thing I did the other night, we're watching Netflix or whatever it was, and my missus went, let's play Monopoly. And I went, I'm playing Monopoly, that's bollocks. And then she went, I've got the Disney one. I went, I can't play Disney Monopoly. By the end of it, I was like, right, you owe me blah, 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 and I'm going to put a palace on that, and I'm going to do it. And it was the best night. It was the best night. We had such a good time. It's
lovely, and I think that's what happened in lockdown, is that either people got closer or they kind of killed each other. So there was something in between, really. So, but I agree. Yes, I think that's you've got to come out of your your space as well, or your social media space, and come out and say, look, let's do something together. I agree, and I should criticise myself a bit because I sometimes just lock myself onto the screen, and I really should come away from it, really, because I think we're as bad as the kids, or worse, because we found this new kind of thing and playing with it, and it's bullshit, really, isn't it? I mean, we think we're going to get all this stuff from Facebook and all this stuff, and I get a few bits through through the business, trying to get the photography out there and all this stuff, and it works a little bit, but it's a very smallish social bubble, really. Yeah. And you've got to get past that to get to the bigger world anyway. I don't know.
No, but
I think podcasts are good. I think podcasts are good because you're trying to find an audience outside of your thing. Which I'm trying to just flock to the same people a lot of the time. It's terrible.
It just goes around and around and around.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
But I think it's like everything, isn't it? It's just everything. It's just about balance. Like social media can be a good thing if we use it, in the right way. Like I find, like Kate and I the other night, we were just sat there on our phones and we just looked at each other and went, "What are we doing?" We're not even. She goes, "You just been sat there scrolling." I went, "I know. I'm not even looking at it. I'm literally just scrolling. What am I looking for?" And then we just, I think it's just about balance,
But yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're kind of on the extreme. My wife, she's not on any social media platform. She's kind of an academic, and she's working massively hard. She's kind of at UCL, associate professor in linguistics. She's very, 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 very clever. But she very clever. She's just not on anything. So when she sees me, because I do work on social media,
yes,
she sees that as me pissing around a lot, and I'm saying I'm working, but maybe 30% of the time is the work, and she's right in one way. But if we get some time when she's not doing something, then we will sit down and watch a film or play this kind of like the artsy game, dice game, or play cards. It's really nice. Just put some music on, and it's really nice.
It's lovely.
But it used to do that years ago when there wasn't the internet as such, and why
I love
not
all
now?
that.
I enjoyed it.
I genuinely, the other day, I was livid to even the suggestion that we were going to do something else. I don't even know, because there's 1,000 channels of television. I haven't had a television for a couple of years, so now I've got it. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to watch that, I'm going to watch that, I'm going to watch that. And suddenly I'm like, oh God, I don't want to keep watching television. I keep being on my phone. And then she's like, let's play Monopoly. I don't want to play Monopoly. The default reaction, I'm like that as well. I get angry if I get pulled off something that I think, but I think those channels, they do drive you crazy because there's such good television at the moment on Netflix and Prime and whatever. Disney's got some great, and you watch through these series and you binge watch them. But you come away feeling a bit empty afterwards. Some of them are great. I mean, I remember watching Bosch. I love Bosch, and I thought that's brilliant. And then you've watched the kind of 6 series or something like that, and you think, really, that's such a lot of hours of watching, doesn't it? That's why I like movies over television shows. I think because a movie's done, and you go, that's it. That I invested that amount of time in that. But with TV shows, it's on, and after a while, I kind of go, oh, I get it now. I get it. And I kind of get bored and wander off. But I think it all comes down to what you're watching, what you're doing things on. Like if I see someone at a coffee shop or whatever and they're on their phone, you just assume, oh, they're just dicking around. But if you're on your laptop, you're like, oh, they're doing some work. It's all about the appliance that you're using, I think. Yeah,
maybe that's it. That might be some little routine in that, doesn't it? There's something in that. Because you go into these coffee shops and you think people just come out straight and put their laptop on all this stuff. Really? I mean, you just wonder what work they're doing, really. And it's very rare. I mean, I thought of doing a project, actually. I'm sure it's been done before with photography. Is to go out with a bit of a zoom lens and just stand on the street. And the amount of people on their phones and just catch the moment when they walk into a lamppost or I just thought that there's all these kind of memes out there anyway, but I'd be a lovely little kind of
when literally, when reality actually bites. Bites when you're so engrossed in what you're doing, you just
and you've seen all these kind of films on walking into canals and all this stuff, but the fact is that there's so many people on. I think maybe it's a bit less now. I don't know, but I remember there was a time that just everybody on the street was on their phone. You just think surely that's the time to put your phone in your pocket and just see what's around you, kind of thing. I try.
Yeah.
I wear headphones sometimes, listen to music when I'm walking around. But sometimes I kick myself if I'm in the street, because you shouldn't be. If you're on a train, that's fine.
Yeah.
On a journey, but actually out there, you just look, see what's around you. Why are you always trying to kind of close yourself into something else that's
True.
that's somewhere else?
Yeah, I did that today. I got the bus from Brighton to Tunbridge Wells. It takes about 2 hours. And I was just sat looking out. I was up on the deck, top deck, up the front, and I had a lovely time seeing into gardens and.
It's great. I mean, it's all right when you're on the bus putting the music on, and that's because you're sat down and you can see. But I just think the idea when you're actually walking in the street, and your senses should be, sensing what's around you, really, rather than, I don't know, the noises around.
No, but it's true, especially if you're somewhere you've not been before, and you're. I found that I was in New York, and I remember can't remember where I was stood, and I was like, what? I'm on my phone again. What am I doing? I'm in New York, of all places. There's all this. You're in the middle. It's like being on a movie set, and you're walking around going, "Oh, what's happening in London at this point?"
But also, I think the idea is that people, use their phone to record stuff. So if you're in New York and you're taking pictures, and again, it's like being at a concert and having your phone filming the concert. You just think, just be there.
Yeah.
Get your phone, put your phone in your pocket. It doesn't matter. I mean, who's going to see these pictures and it doesn't matter. Just to experience it. Yeah. I'm guilty of it, but I just sometimes I'm aware that I'm doing it, and I just think this is mad. just be there. I know. I mean, it's very kind of Buddhist, isn't it? I suppose just to be, but is it? I don't know.
Well, it's effort, isn't it? Like, it goes back to what we were saying before. Like, it's easier for us to sit and stress about things rather than taking a minute and going, okay, right, what do I really need to worry about? What do I need to focus on? How do I stop myself from, because the way I'm going to be ill. Yeah. And I need to just give myself a minute. It's harder to do that, isn't it?
Well, I think there's a lot more things that distract you to make you stressed, because 20, 30 years ago things were simpler. I think the internet, although it's meant to make things much easier, it's actually made things more complicated, I think, because you just want to be on it and be aware and show stuff all the time. I mean, these is what these platforms are very guilty and make you do. They're very clever that way. Yeah. But the idea if you just got up in the morning, just did your exercises for 15 minutes, did some breathing exercises, and you'll feel much better rather than just go straight into your emails and all this stuff. But I've tried to start doing that a little bit. I mean, when I was kind of quite ill, I did the TM, Transcendental Meditation, went on this course and learned my mantra and all this stuff. And I did meditate for 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes at night, and it was good, and I stopped doing that a while ago, and I should get back into that. I think everybody's so busy, but are they? You make your business. Are they? It's kind of really. Well, my wife is. She's really busy. I know she is. She's really. I mean, she's constantly got deadlines, things like that. But I've got all these deadlines with what's going on at the moment. But really, I have got some time as well. It's all right.
Yeah. Well, my son's wife.
Well, my face has gone all. Am I gone all?
You're gone all. You're like being beamed up.
I know. Yeah, that's terrible, isn't it?
My son's. So my daughter-in-law, Mary, I was in her office a little while ago, and she had post-it notes on the wall, and I was looking at it, and it was all mapped out. What her day, get up in the morning, breakfast, this and this, and I was like, bloody hell, that seems a bit organised. And then there was a bit in the evening, sort of like 8 till 9, social media, and I was like, but now I'm like, oh, that makes total sense. Otherwise, you need some kind of structure. Otherwise, you're just on your phone constantly, just scrolling through. If you give yourself a bit of time and go, actually, I'm going to allow that time there. Or whenever it is, just go, I'm going to have a bit of a look at that, and then I'm going to try and leave it. But we're so addicted to it.
Have you heard and spoke Oliver Burkeman? Is it Oliver Burkeman?
I don't know.
My wife's massive. I've got his book now, and he's basically got this book called, I think, is it 4,000 Weeks, which is basically how long you live. Tiny. Wow. 4,000.
Oh my God.
I think it's recorded. Hopefully I'm not misquoting there. I'll look it up. Look it up. But he's great. He's basically saying you just can't do everything. You've got to prioritise. Yeah. And he's got a very good system of doing it now. And I'm not finished reading it, but I like the way it's really worth looking into him, because everybody's really busy, but he's trying to say you're not really that busy on certain things, and he's kind of academically looked into the stresses and how to cope with it. It's a very good guy, actually, very good. Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
And it is. I think as well, being comedians when we haven't really had or didn't really need a lot of structure. It was all about, we were just focusing on getting to the gig later on. So your day, especially when I started out, we didn't have, we didn't have social media and things like that. So you were just focused on getting the gigs, getting to the gigs. And then the day was kind of just, you just sort of floated about a bit, and
it's great, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But that's true. Yeah. I mean, I used to say, I'm really working hard. My wife would say, just doing 20 minutes a night. But I'd say, no, but there's all the preparation. I've got to get there. But really, we were doing 20 minutes now. But and it was a laugh. It was great. And then actually, they were good times because there was a bit less stress, really, wasn't there? I think it was fun. It was a lot of fun. And what are you trying to say? What were we trying to say? Yeah.
Well, I think there's more pressure now for content. There's more pressure for comedians because what's happening, I've noticed now, is that the industry's kind of shifting over towards like TikTok people and who've built up their own audience, and so the industry's kind of like focusing on that. And so there's a pressure now for us to now build our own online presence and build our own audiences, in order to stay relevant. And there's a pressure that comes with that.
There's a couple of things going on now. I think that's true, but I think that there's a problem, isn't it? Because you've got to tread the boards. There's these TikTok people who've got 2 million followers, and they'll turn up on a gig and just haven't got the chops. They aren't fun. They're not good. They might be very good on TikTok and the 15 seconds of very funny little skit or whatever it is, but to build up a really good set, it takes years, doesn't it? I mean, and so in a way we're in an advantage if we could work out how to make that TikTok and social media work, because we have got the chops. You could, if you built up a massive following, but the problem is there's also a bit fake, isn't it? Because the TikTok audience won't come to you. I think the Instagram audience might do, and the Twitter followers might do, but TikTok's very fleeting, isn't it? You can get 2 million followers, but really, what does that mean?
Does it translate?
Yeah, and how do you monetize that as such? But it all works and it all helps for people. But I think,
Although I'm saying that, I do know there are some people that have built up their online presence. They come from that online world.
Yeah.
And they do sell out. There's a guy I got asked to be in the show briefly. I couldn't do it, but he sold out the Brighton Dome. Had never done a gig before, and you're going, what? Yeah, and you're like, fucking hell. So there is some people are making it work. I don't know how, but they're doing it.
What would be interesting is how was the gig? What happened? It'd be interesting to see the gig, because then you've just got the audience for one night in Brighton, and then what? Because ultimately you want to tour. If you're going to do that, I don't know. Maybe it's a very fleeting thing, but there are some very good people. I mean, look someone like Mark Simmons, who's started to his one-liner jokes are perfect for something like that.
Yeah. And
the put-downs and the heckles and all this stuff, it works really well. And I think he's got the chops. He's built it up. He writes. He's constantly writing. So I think that you've got to be hard working at it.
Oh, definitely. I think. Maybe that's it. Maybe we just had it easy for too long, and now we've got the arse because we're
lazy kids. That's yeah, absolutely. And I think that, as I said, I've put much more work into the photography because you've got to do it. You've got to produce, you've got to create all the time. But I think, as I said before, with the comedy, you can actually create a really good 20-30 minute set that you don't really have to change that much, and then you get lazy. That the Jongleurs made us lazy. It made me lazy because you got paid very well. You got the hotels. Just that's fine. We never we didn't know that what was going to come after that, really.
Well, no, go on.
Well, you couldn't see the collapse. There was a time you could, because it started collapsing. But early on, you just thought, this is just amazing. They had 15 clubs or something like that.
Yeah. It didn't see it. It didn't. To be honest, and I had this conversation last night. Was with Mick Ferry, and we were talking about. A lot of the people that suffered the most were the people that only did the big clubs like Jongleurs, and they didn't really. I remember a few of them. They were going, "So, where are you? Where are you Friday?" And I'd say, "Oh, I'm at this place," and they'll go, "Oh, where's that?" And I go, oh, it's just this little place. It's blah, 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 blah. How much are you getting for that? And I was like, it's like 100 quid. They're like, why are you doing that on a Friday? You could do this, that and the other. I'm like, yeah, but I want to play the club. It's a nice club. I'm on with, look who I'm on with. And that was the thing. We weren't putting all our eggs in one basket. We were doing all the nice little weird and wonderful places as well as doing the big ones. So I think that was...
That makes a difference. I think that's what happened is I generally tried to do 1 or 2 Jongleurs weekends a month so that you could fill in the other ones, all the other clubs. Yeah, with the nice clubs as well, you know. I mean, there were some nice jonglers as well. You know, we kind of dissed the jonglers a lot, don't we? Really, but there were some fucking horrible ones as well. But there were some nice ones. Yeah.
I think we're lucky to be able to do what we do. Still, I think we need to stop moaning about social media.
No, I think
you know.
I agree. I think it's just the landscape's changed. You as a comedian, as a traveling comedian, you can't make a living out of just doing the clubs now, so you have to do something else or work out how social media works for you. So it's fine. And I think, you know, there was a time where, you know, there's a kind of comedians a certain age who got quite bitter about it all, and all these youngsters overtaking the diversity and who gets on television, all this stuff. That's just the way it is. You just got to just be happy about where you are, and that's your journey really, and you can't. That's how television works. That's how social media works. It's fine, you know.
I think you're right. You've just hit the nail on the head. It goes back to what we were saying before about positive thinking. And I am genuinely pleased for everyone. When I see them, whatever they're doing, I'm like, yeah, man, good on you, good on you. I don't sit there and go, wow, why haven't I got that? Where's my? You know, it's nothing to do with anything other than they're doing it and you're not, and that's it. So. Rather than sitting being all bitter, and you just go, you know. Don't you
ever look at? So, I mean, I don't now, but it makes me laugh because I've got this other side of it, and you've got this other side as well. But you do look sometimes at who gets on certain programs. You think, wow, I've seen them do 8 minutes of okay stuff. But again, you've got to step back and think this is just fine. That's absolutely fine. That's their journey. That's how it all works, and it's fine. But I think there's a lot of people who are still quite angry and bitter about it.
Some people think they go, I've been going 30 years. They just assume that they should be on things, and you're like, doesn't work like that. And the other thing is as well, if you see someone and you go, oh, I saw you at blah blah blah, and you weren't that good. But that might be just when you saw them, or what they're doing really isn't for you, but it's for other people. And so now I kind of go like, oh, good on you. I'm not going to sit here and be all fuck. Kind of like I do try and focus on what I am doing and where I'm at, and not get all bogged down with that. Because, you know, again, if I'm tired though, and you catch it at the wrong moment, I'll go, for fuck's sake.
Absolutely. But that's the kind of, you know, your mental well-being is you can't see what other people are doing. You've got your own journey really, and try and be happy. And I think this big secret, and this is where I got bogged down with the comedy maybe, is you carry on creating, carry on writing, carry on shooting, whatever it is you do in the art side of things. Just keep doing it. Or, you know, and because you can get very static and staid, and that's usually the problem. That's why people get angry. Yeah. Because you know, you've been doing the same stuff for 15 years, whatever it is. So you know, it was all right at the time because you could actually make a living on the circuit, but you can't now. And even then, it wasn't good for your mental health just to do the same stuff. You know. I
think you're right. And when you really boil it down, when you really look into why you're pissed off at any sort of given time, you can kind of it always comes back to you. You kind of go, that I'm looking at, that's not really the reason. The reason I'm fucked off is because of this. Oh yeah, I know I can do something about that. Yeah, but it's easier for me to just moan and go, brr, you know,
fun, rather than we are the comedians.
It's just we need to remember, and remember all of that. It takes work, doesn't it? It all takes effort to remind yourself how lucky you are.
Oh, wait, but it does. But as you say, you're doing something you really enjoy. So I mean, that's what again pisses off my wife. Although she really enjoys her job, there are bits that are really tough and hard. But ultimately, most of the stuff I do, I really enjoy, except for trying to do my accounts or whatever it is that I don't enjoy. But generally, what I'm doing, I really enjoy it. So it's. But I actually say it is work because that's how I make my living, kind of thing. But it's fun, though, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, I wouldn't change it for the world. I love it.
Yeah.
And then, tonight, I'm off to Ashford later on. I've got a couple of gigs.
I'm in Chichester.
See? All the greats. Yeah.
Chichester, yeah.
So have you got a physical book yet?
No, but what came through the other day, if I can find it, is these are extraordinary. These are I'm a bit blurred, aren't I? Look, I've got to do it like that. But these are what's known as the proofs, folded and gathered proofs. So that's basically,
and they're all in order. How it'll be in the book.
Yeah, it's folded and gathered, and now they got. It's terrible in my blurred thing, but now they're binding them and putting the cover on, hard cover on. So they're doing that now so I should get delivery in 10 days. So when that came through the post from Italy, in the packaging, I was shitting myself because I thought it's really expensive. It was a really expensive print. Because I wanted it on really lovely paper. I wanted the repros to be really professional and all this stuff. So it came through the post and I thought, shit, if I open this and it's not what I want and it looks terrible, I'm fucked basically.
Yeah.
So I've all these pre-orders and everything so I opened it up and I went, you got a quick look through it like that, and then I put it down and I slowly went through it. It's lovely. It's beautiful. It's really lovely. So it's just really exciting. Yeah.
Isn't it amazing that when you started in comedy, or like you grew up reading books and you had your favourite books and things like that, at no point did you think one day I'll have a book out, and now you're going to have this amazing, and it's spectacular. I've seen some of the photos that are going to be in it, and it's incredible. It's going to be a real, it's actual art.
Yes, I think that's what that was a big jump from the other two books, was to go from a bit of a snapshotty thing and joke book kind of thing, a fact book, to the art world, and that was the big jump. So hopefully this is a kind of a calling card into the photography art world to say, look, I'd love to get some, big exhibition. You're in the book, you're in it.
Yeah, it's a lovely photo
picture.
with
Pete Graham.
Yeah,
Pete
I remember that night as well. Is when you do the King's Head, downstairs at the King's Head, and you sit in that little room, and Peter will tell you all these old Barry Cryer jokes, and I remember that night when he. Can't remember. I do remember the joke. I won't repeat it because I'll make a terrible hash of it. But it was one of the few that actually made me laugh. And I'm like, and it's funny with the comedy, with the other one, the snapshot one. People going to gigs and collecting the signatures of everyone in the books.
There's a couple of guys out there.
There's loads of people do that.
Yeah, totally. And I think it's a great thing. So there's in both of the books, there's Comedy Snapshot, there's that one, and there's Joker Face. And there's about 1,000 comedians in there. And so there's a couple of guys who are going around, aren't they, getting signatures? You've signed a few, haven't you? So he's gone round, and he's a good guy actually.
Graham.
But I started doing it myself because I was gigging still, and then then someone bought the book, and I accidentally sent that book to the person, someone who bought it. So there's about 50 signatures in there of Harry Hill and people like that, and I sent it to someone because someone bought it, and I put it on the wrong pile. So
someone's got a very limited edition.
Well, a
special one. But so when is the book coming out?
Well, in bookshops it will be out at the end of October, beginning of November, but through my website you can still pre-order it, and I'll get it out before then, because hopefully I'll get it in the next week or so. So to the people who pre-ordered it, they'll hopefully get it by the end of September, beginning of October.
Okay.
Lovely.
And where can we find you on the socials if we are
socials?
Slagged it off.
Yes. Totally. Exactly. At Steve Best Pics, and that's mainly the Instagram and Twitter, and at Steve Best Comic as well.
Lovely.
SD Best Pics is the best one.
Lovely. And you seem like you're in a good place at the minute. After all the stress of putting the book together, the stress of family, you seem like you've come through the other side, and you seem to be in a better place, or in a good place.
Yeah, it's isn't it, with kids and life, it's just constant though, isn't it? So I am in a nice place at the moment, but problem is with the kind of the anxiousness, you're just waiting for the next bit kind of thing. But it's kind of, it's fun. It's fun. I think it's financial security is the one that you're kind of really looking for.
That is the one,
But it's close. It's all there. Yeah.
Well, I was talking about it the other day. I was like, I don't even want helicopters and Ferraris. I just want to be able to pay the rent and not worry about it. That's it.
That's the big thing. I think my missus is a bit like that. It's just, you just want to have it. I mean, we're actually in a miles better position than lots and lots of people.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's always kind of relative, but just have a nice holiday and and you don't want all the biggie stuff. It's fine, but
yeah, just want to be able to just have a nice time. And when my youngest says, "Dad, I need 20 quid," just to be able to go, then, and not have to think, right, that's my last 20 quid.
But that is it, isn't it? It's that, or just if you need a taxi or you need this, it's all right, but it's tough, isn't it? Everybody's, especially now in the next 6 months.
Yeah, I really worry. This is why, another reason why I've had to sort of stop looking at social media, because I'm genuinely concerned about how people are going to get through it. It just seems a relentless squeeze on everybody, and I don't know. Hopefully, this is the thing. We all need to come together and help each other out. That's what I want to happen.
Well, there was a time when someone said, sorry.
That's all right.
There was a time where we were trying to get a union together, wasn't it? But I think comedians are generally
sole traders.
Sole traders and selfish sole traders. But it's a tough one, isn't it? Because there have been times over the years of trying to get something together. And Equity got something together for the comedians as well a little bit, but it's tough, isn't it? Because everybody's undercutting and just trying to get stage time, isn't it? Anyway,
I think that's it. I think we're all trying to survive at the end of the day, and I think if we can take a moment to kind of take ourselves out of it and centre ourselves a little bit and go, right, okay, let's see what we can do. Because when we do work together, it works and we do get more done. So, we'll see. Well, when the zombies come, that's when we'll. Anyway, Steve, this has been lovely. Thank you so much, mate.
Pleasure. Nice one. All right.
Nice one. Cheers, mate.
Cheers, man.